world. A lot's going on with people personally, with their families. We wish you all the safety in the world. We hope you and your family are doing well. Um, it's been an interesting time, not to say the least, in as far as what we do on our day-to-day life, but also in and around the workplace. And Jeff and I have known each other for a long time. We're excited to sort of bring a couple new things to you. Make sure that you had an opportunity to take a look at some new technologies. Jeff, from Microsoft, going to introduce himself in just a little bit. But we go back, like I said, 5, 6 years ago when we were really just working with PMOs, organizations, trying to help figure out, hey, what do I do with all this stuff? All this thing called work or task. Do we use a process? Do we use a tool? Right? Can we use both? And the answer, is formatively yes, you can do all of this. But we want to bring what you can do on your own today, also what you might be able to do with your IT group or other groups of teams that are out there, and then really challenging you. Are you doing it the most efficiently and effective way today with what you have? And also, if there's other disparate tools that you're using, we're going to welcome those. We're going to show how you can go across whatever current tool you're using or process that you currently been using to really get that into a more efficient life cycle when we talk in and around work and project slash portfolio management. We're in a series here at Microsoft. We'll talk about some upcoming things that happen here. These happen, every 3, 4 weeks. Make sure we'll put the link in. Make sure that you can go in there. And then for all those that are on the call today, we do have a special opportunity for you not only to link in with the speakers that are here today, but also at the end, you're going to have a little goodie bag. So normally we like to be in person. We can walk around and give some things out, maybe have, a drink or two afterwards and have some fun. But today, since we are remote, we will give you an opportunity. There'll be a little virtual goodie bag. So at the end, you might want to stick around, as well as we do really listen and read the feedback. So we have a QR code that's there too on feedback. What did you like about today? What topics do you want to hear in the future? And really just any feedback, both positive and or areas of improvement, we'd be looking to you. So without getting into too much, I do want to introduce Jeff Pikulik from Microsoft. Been in and around the space for many moons. I'll let him talk about his career here. But Jeff is really going to share with us this vision of modern project and really the ability to enhance it with some of the tools that are out there today. Jeff?
All right, great. Nice to see everybody. And I see a handful of very familiar names and then a lot of new names. So that's great. And thank you for joining us. And I just wanted to kind of share with you my point of view on everything Jock just introduced. I think we really are in an exciting time, and Microsoft is all in on productivity as always. But we're really, always challenging ourselves to reinvent our tools and processes to better fit where the workplace is today, and what companies are expecting from task and work and project management and things like that. So we really don't recognize task, work, and project management as a single tool within Microsoft. We really have what we call a single stack or a single environment that is really important for us to embrace all of those to get to the types of use cases that that you guys are interested in supporting. So like Jacques said, I've been doing frankly project management my entire professional career, so over 20 some years now. Been with Microsoft about 8 years, and I am a solution specialist. So anytime productivity becomes a team effort, that's what I focus on, particularly in the manufacturing vertical. But we have business application specialists, modern workplace specialists, and project specialists that really can support just about every commercial account within Microsoft's customer base. So reach out for help wherever possible. And then we have great partners like PPM Works that are certified in the product set, and they're looking out for everyone's best interests. So can always reach out to me if you have specific questions now or after. But what we're after at Microsoft, and this is something that I think I've embraced for many, many years, is the number one thing you always want to do as an enabler of work and project management is make sure the individual is starting their day in a tool that they feel comfortable, and that tool supports what they're being asked to do within the organization. If someone has to make extra clicks or they have to go to an extra application, it's only additive to their work base. So really what you want to do is think about how you can bring the project work into their day in day out application. And it used to be, email was that main application that people were reaching out to when they first booted up their laptop in the morning. I think now we're seeing Microsoft Teams as that natural place to begin the day, and you're going to kind of revisit that Teams environment as you go through your workday. And then what we can do now with Power BI and Power Apps and all of the great connectivity that we can create really through just data syndication, it's not even so much hard integration anymore, is the enterprise can then harvest that interaction and that information and that data to get the views and the dashboards and the things that they need. And I'm thinking we're stepping back from what we used to think of as, hard-coded reports to much more views and slices of the information depending on the role within the organization. So that's our work vision. People start the day in the tool of choice, and then enterprises get the results they need by getting that data out. Jock, can go to the next slide. Here are kind of the handful of big things that we're really looking at. We're trying to kind of bring our engineering groups together and simplify our product set. And the things we're really trying to do with that product set is, one, make sure that you're getting a big picture of all the work that's going on. One of the things I've discovered working with a lot of PMOs over the years is really you're only as good as the level of depth that you can bring to demand management, schedule management, and resource management. Meaning if you can't get the bigger picture, if you can't identify all the sources of work, whether that's at the task level, the work level, or the project level, and then you roll that up into programs, you need to have that portfolio view, and you can only lower the water level to whatever level of granularity you have in the big picture. So one thing we have to do is, the more we can digitize the work, whether that's individual tasks that people are managing on their own that are their own types of information, or tasks that are coming from varieties of sources within the department or other project work, by the ability to bring that all into one view, now we can actually step and look into schedules, calendars, and resources and things like that much more effectively. People and teams are always going to choose the tool that's most useful to them. So if they're primarily an engineering team, they're going to use tools that are tied to their engineering objectives. If they're a business team, they're going to tie it to their CRM or their workflow tools that help them kind of manage sales orders and work orders and task orders and things like that. And if they're at the department level, they're thinking of it much more as a functional type thing. What is it that links to their budgets and to their monthly KPIs and OKRs and their key results and things like that? So people are always going to choose the tool that really aligns to their role. And now what we need to do is bring the rest of that project information to a place where they can make use of it. The biggest change, I think, not only from work from home and the COVID transformation of our workplace, but it's also the key change in demographics. Millennials now, the millennials expect really that information to be highly accessible from a few clicks. They're no longer willing to log into multiple applications to get the information they need. And the other thing is they're very comfortable linking different data sources. They're not so proprietary linked to one product or to one application. And what we really recognize is they want to take advantage of the connectivity between the data, and often what we used to think of as integration or APIs and things like that. The modern millennials, they're willing to kind of bring those mashups of information together and look at it in a much more interactive way than we've ever had in the past. So we're looking at that. The other side of it is just the demographics of project management. We no longer have the luxury of having a project manager on everything that was called a project. We also don't have the luxury of having a centralized PMO that really has that governance and control over all the things that we used to. So really, we're in a situation now where we have to kind of think about, there's going to be a lot of what we think of as self-managed work or perhaps ungoverned work. That work's all driving to the demand on our day-to-day project management resources. So we have to kind of think at it from that perspective. And then the last thing is this the concept of syndicating data and bringing sources of information from a lot of different enterprise systems. We no longer have one big ERP, but we also don't have to have the time and effort of building integration between every one of our applications, because we're really starting to get to one stack, kind of one type of application that really brings all that data together, and it's a very scalable platform. So Microsoft, we spend all of our time thinking about the ease of access and support of data. So once you put data in, making sure that people have access to it, and doing that in a highly secure and personalized way, and really Active Directory of what we all think of as the email system, how we find people in our organization. That's really where we're starting it, is that recognizing is if we can get them validated and authenticated for the purposes of their day-to-day, we can then use that to help drive the identity within the project management community as well. So one or two more slides, and then we'll get back to the mission at hand. But when I think about how people should approach their strategy around task, work, and project management, I kind of always ask them, what types of work are we talking about, and what are we trying to solve for? So I kind of put it simply into three circles. One is you have the core enterprise productivity problem, which is the better we can collaborate, the better we can be familiar with everybody's work, the more likely we are to drive up productivity. That frees up more capacity to do other types of activities and work within the company. The second big thing we have to think about is visibility in the status. So we'd love to take work down to the granular level. I'm an engineer by training. I love that whole task and schedules and dependencies thing. But the truth of the matter at hand is really the first and foremost thing we said is, do we have visibility to all the work going on? And can we provide even basic statusing between the different work teams? And if we can identify line of business and department level program visibility, we can allow the natural collaboration capabilities on the left to work out some of the idiosyncrasies between managing capacity and managing schedules. And then on the right, we have the project management, a little bit of what we thought of it in the past, which is we have this really tight connection between a project, the resources, and the results we're going after. And this is where I call it use case specific type project management, where you really have a strategic portfolio of tasks, work, programs, and projects, and they all come together to drive a common result. Everything on the left does that as well, but there are those unique work cases that drive so much value in the company. You really want to think of how you're linking the performance and results directly to the tool design that you're trying to implement. So thinking about your bigger ecosystem, on the outer layer, you have this enterprise productivity. You get a little bit closer to the work and visibility and status, and then eventually you have those core programs and projects that you have to manage 100% and execute every time. That's strategic portfolio management. One more slide, I think, Jacques, and then we can get back to some other stuff. So when people ask, so how do I get this started? I'm new to my role, or perhaps we don't necessarily have a perfectly defined project organization within our company. I kind of say with the new technology out there, it used to be people, process, and tools, and people always said, well, the tool doesn't matter if you can't get the people and the process in place. I think we're in a place now where there's a nice balance between those three. And when we think about teams, the project management tools, and I think two other key assets we have is Microsoft, which is the Power BI and the Power Apps. We really can think about how you can innovate work management across all these stakeholders. So the first and foremost thing is always make sure that you're focused on delivery. If there's anything you can do to make work start at a single point. So when someone logs in the morning and they fire up their machine, bring all that work into Teams so they see it all in one place at one time. Aggregate the task view. So there might be tasks coming from their manager. There might be tasks coming from perhaps their training or their situation within the organization. And then they have true project work. The better we can give them one view of all those tasks in one place, that's going to simplify how they have to prioritize their day, week, and month. And the other side of it is the community of voice. Is open up that messaging channel. So think about work as structures or levels of depth in the messaging. You have simple interactions that now occur really within kind of chat functions. And those are things that we can do at mentions directly in the task. and just bring it to the mainstream of people how they're used to texting, put it in an app mention so we can actually accelerate the amount of conversation. And then we can fall back into email, and then we can fall back into our meeting notes. And those kinds of things will actually improve the process. If we always defer everything to meeting notes and to emails, as we all know, where we become overwhelmed with how to navigate the depth of all of that. And the last thing I always say about the delivery team, whenever you ask them for data, make sure that they're getting something back. Put that data into a dashboard, put that data into something that they can get value from as well. It's hard to ask people for data too many times before they start to say, what am I getting out of this? On the sponsor side, the number one thing I hear from managers, directors, and executives is just give me a single pane of glass. Let me syndicate what parts of that data I want to get refreshed and how often I want it to get refreshed. And then if I have questions, let me drill down into the detail below it. The beautiful thing about our kind of new data analytics approach in Microsoft is with Power BI, we can take what we used to do in Excel, what we used to have to do through integration, and bring it to a syndicated data source and let people really curate their own single pane of glass, how they want to view the world. And I think it's incredibly powerful to give an executive that kind of flexibility and filtering on their own information. And then don't forget about yourself, the people that are driving the project work, perhaps project managers, program managers, and if there's a program office. The first thing is automate project creation. Anytime you're creating a new project, think about how can I automate the process of setting up what we used to think of as folders and workflows? How can I set up the structure that I'm going to manage this project going forward? And very often that's thinking through how you're going to do teams and how you're going to do who you put into the group that's going to have visibility of this information. The other one is zero rekey. If you find yourself ever having to rekey any kind of data within your different applications, we just have to step back and solve that problem immediately. It's a death cycle to get into a rekey type situation, and there really should always be one source of truth, and that's usually the quickest route to figuring out where the information should have been put in the first place. And then self-directed project management is okay. I think in some of the more structured industries around like engineering-based industries or manufacturing-based industries, we used to think about every project had to have this kind of owner. I think we're going to have to get much more comfortable that we have self-directed work teams, and if we can provide them the vehicles to update and status their information, we can then report against it. And then the last thing, which I really think is on the cutting edge of where we're going as Microsoft, but every organization really needs to kind of go to that fourth round of innovation within the digital landscape, is AI and automation at a new level. So first and foremost is, I think the first step we're going to take with AI is use it to actually look at that data that's sitting up above by the sponsors and the delivery team, and let it be the source of issues and risks. I think very few of the actual important issues and risks are ever identified by a project manager. It really should be discovered if I'm not having the level of interaction, if I'm not getting the similar training of resources. As I add resources to a project pool, are those same resources interacting with the messaging and the kind of things that go on in project delivery? If not, AI can discover that might be an issue. That might be something we have to spend some time. And then the other side of AI is to make sure that we're balancing the scarce resources we have, which are PMs and directors. Are they focusing their time on the projects that are most active? And if they're not, perhaps that's a way for us to reinvent ourselves and say, maybe I can back off and allow certain projects to be more self-directed. If it's the same project task activities every month, maybe that no longer merits having a full-time project manager on that project. So these are some of the things I see as I get to talk to a lot of companies about this stuff. And really where we're at now is the 4 project pillars of our application: Teams, Project, Power BI, and Power Apps are allowing this to be a pretty seamless kind of process from a data perspective going forward. So that's what I wanted to share. Hopefully it's helpful, and I look forward to questions and answers along the way here. So thanks, Jock.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks very much. Always great to hear from you. not only the perspective, but bring it through the experience. You see a lot of clients out there, so folks, I know there are a lot of project managers on, some program managers, a blend of all different types from all different industries. Jeff just mentioned, okay, how it really doesn't matter what industry we're in today, or even who we're servicing as far as our clientele. It's really about those, bringing those three pieces that he mentioned together. Now, today, I want to sort of take a step farther here and not just, talk a little bit about slideware, but really from your perspective, right? What are you currently using today within your ecosystem? And we've asked this question, time and time again, and you can see the sort of smatter chart, right? But when he talks about program or project managers or even the users of the system, we often deal with many tools that are out there, a wide array of all sorts of different projects. So as you're putting in Teams, I'm seeing Outlook, PowerPoint. Yep, you're seeing a lot of these, okay, that you're using on a daily basis. And a lot of people, and it was nice. Thanks for writing Outlook. A lot of people miss that opportunity of email, right? Because they just have been doing it for so long that they don't even think of it as being a work management solution or even how they drive their tasks or individuals. So absolutely, we have all these tools, and I won't even go and stretch to say the disparate, because a lot of organizations could tie these things in quite nicely, specifically around the core set that Jeff just mentioned. With Power Automate or some of these other tools, you really nicely can weave this in. Now, my purple friend called Teams, I like to say that, is really that first bucket. And you saw, it coming over it from the slides that Jeff talked about. We're going to actually show you a few things and what we're seeing in the industry and some best practice around using Teams, not only for work management, but collaborations and things like that. Now, before I get there, the there's been studies that Microsoft went out with different partners out there and really tried to figure it out. And I actually challenge you to do this on your own. Is during a day, just figure out how many times you're bouncing back and forth between two different things. You get a call, a Teams, you get an email. Maybe we're all working from home now too. It might be something personal or work, right? There are a lot of different challenges that we have. And I'm talking about in our individual workspace, wherever that can be. It doesn't matter where we're located, okay, or even what role we're in. But these simple tasks that we have to do, there are many that, you might feel that it's simply, we don't really need to be doing them. We're doing them because they're repetitive, like Jeff mentioned, the rekeying of different information, or I'm producing a report so people can actually analyze that data. Wouldn't it be great if we can just make decisions based on that data? Skip that the hashing, or to automate things and do that. Now, routine tasks are going to be part of our day-to-day life. There's no getting around all of that. However, we can sort of take that and really work it into the overall process, if you will. But the key here is taking that, and you can see some of the heuristics here. 61% of most people's time on routine tasks. Well, if we can just dial those up and make those a little bit automated, take half that time, imagine what we can do with that time with home, or putting into a hobby, or diving even deeper into that new project that you're working for. So the key is really unlocking this other potential that we have. And I'm not even talking about a skill potential. I'm talking about that roadblock of time. Okay. Time to be more creative. Again, spend it with our customers, listening to what they're saying and maybe designing some things for them, or really catching up on what we should be doing as PMs. Did we really take a look at all of our issues and risks? Do we have a really good process in around that, or do we just jump right into the next project, right? So whatever it is that makes it special for you that you're going to take away from this, again, I challenge you to just start being aware of those things. Lastly, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I actually did this with our team, um, said, hey, every time you switch, think of how long it takes you to really turn your focus and be engaged. That's a great word today in our modern society of everything's instant. We have our phones. I'm probably catching you, half of you right now are probably, looking somewhere else or doing something, okay? To be engaged in the moment is critical. And that in itself is going to be a driver for a lot of these efficiencies. So now when we're talking about all these tools, let's just your eyes sort of set on this page for a bit. But there's needs across everywhere. So to address these, you and your organization might already have some of these tools that are out there. They might be some third-party tools that are there too. But this ever presence of tasks going on across the board within Microsoft 365, it's both extensive and pervasive. What I mean by that is we are constantly being asked to do stuff. And you don't always have to say, oh, well, I need to create a certain task in this application so I can see everything in an Excel spreadsheet, or I can see everything in a. Today, I'm going to show you how you can see everything within Teams, regardless of how you're going to start that task process. We're also going to roll that back into what Jeff was talking about project and program management, how you can tie those strategically in for you project and portfolio managers, program managers that are out there. But if we were to follow this diagram through, Teams is going to be the hub of what we're talking about. On the right hand side, more the strategic project management, even um, the execution of things going on, whether it's in an agile world with Jira or Azure DevOps, okay? If it's going to be, talking and communicating, again, if it's the Microsoft world and we're doing that in SharePoint or things like that, or it could be something else that you have that's going across the board. And then everything on the left, again, that is going to be the core operations, the day-to-day that people are using, out there. And again, you can add all your different logos in here. It doesn't really matter. For those friends that aren't using Teams besides telephonics that are out there, what I mean by telephonics, this call today, right? Sending maybe a quick call to somebody, but also maybe even chat, is there is an option. You can do this today. I'll show you how to do this right from Teams. Now, your IT organization might not let you add this application, but there's actually an application called Tasks and Teams out there, and it will pull automatically today in early March of 2022. Right now, it pulls everything in from Planner, and it also brings in your to-do list. So I'm going to show you how you can get things in the Planner, so that way it can get into Teams and Outlook, and everything is in one area. We're going to use the team technology to sort of capture everything, and then I'll show you 3 different ways that your team members can actually interact with it to keep it current and update it. They can do it however they want. So when we're talking about Teams, there's a bunch of stuff, right, that comes through here. I've also addressed, that. The key I want to talk about here is a hub, if you think about for your project, your program, okay, even maybe your department in this case. If you can start to figure out the approach of how your team is going to communicate, as well as how they're going to manage those tasks, whether they're on projects, epics, or even external maintenance and support, right? If we can see everything in one area, now we're starting. I'm also going to allude to, wouldn't it be great if you could see risks and issues and deliverables and maybe even change requests in one area. And again, you can do all this, okay? And you can do it with some tools that you have today. And we'll show you a couple more that will make it even easier today. All right, I'm going to skip through here. I'm not sure why all these slides are coming through, but I'm going to go through and bring it to one last slide, and then we're going to get into a quick demo here. And it's this one. Let's see here. There we are. So Project Planner Sync. This is a tool that allows you to take from project and move it into Planner. Now, you don't need this tool, okay? But if you are of the mindset that you're using Microsoft Project out there and you're managing at that level and you wanted to send it out to your team in Teams or just to folks in Planner, some other tool, make it easy for them. Maybe they're afraid or they don't like our Gantt charts. I love Gantt charts. I'm a PM, right? I enjoy it. I like getting into that detail, the engineer head that Jeff talked about, right? I can deal with that. Others, they don't even want to see anything about it. They just want to see a nice little area where they can do everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it up a live environment. Now, when I say live environment, it is our demo environment. So it is going to be configured. We're going to bounce in here. We're going to take a look at a few different things. Now, folks, I've been going on just a bit. I want to do just a quick, check. If you have any questions, again, please make sure to post it up in the Teams area, and either Heather or Jeff will respond to you, or I'll do a pause here every once in a while. Okay, so what are we taking a look at? We talked about, hey, we're going to show you some tips across a couple domains, meaning some areas of Microsoft. Well, we talked about Teams, Planner, To Do, Project. Okay, I'm going to throw a few more in there, but how does this actually look when we get in here? First, on the left-hand side, we're talking about our teams. In this area, we're talking about a team technology. We're going to do a team-based, it's project, okay? Project-based teams. So on the left-hand side, I have VoIP phones. I have some, for those healthcare folks out there, it doesn't really matter what our project is. We've also seen some people that like to do programs at this level and then have projects underneath it. We can have a further discussion on what the best teamiology, there's a word for you today, to set up those projects. One reason why I like the project specific to a team is about security, okay, as well as accessibility to this, whether it's external users or internal users. We can control it at a project level, okay, and I really like that. So let's take this Bay Plaza one because I happen to be in it. Um, you can have as many different channels as you want underneath here, and we can also, just like Teams, add these different tabs up here. Well, I already can see that there's some, maybe I'm new to the project. I'm jumping in. Well, what happened here? Okay. What's going on? Well, there's been a status report, right? What is this logo right here? This logo is a bot, right? So it's going to be Microsoft Flow, meaning I'll get caught up with the ages here. Power Automate, right? So Microsoft Power Automate is sending and pushing these status reports out. Hey, there's a time saver for you project managers. Are you creating your status reports and then sending them out or posting them different places? You can actually have this automated, or you can post it again, just how you're doing it, directly through a visual tab up here. If you have folks that are actually looking for something, they have an issue, they have a risk, again, all this can be posted directly to you. It can come in any sort of form. Again, these are just samples that are out here. And then again, hey, someone's been adding some things for us to go and do some progress on. Now, whether you mentioned, Jeff talked about the instant or being, in this younger generation of getting people's attention, regardless of how old or young we are, both at heart and age. When you have your activities up here, this is where things are going to come in. So now my attention is going to my entire, and I'll use the word portfolio as a team member, whatever I happen to be working on, okay? Whether it's within Microsoft Project, it's using Excel, it's using Jira or some other tool that's out there. Again, I could see everything in one area here and pull that through. Now, since I am at this project, I am going to dance around a little bit. Files, everybody gets wiki again and talking through. But now you have the option. Now, this is a Microsoft project. Okay, so there's a project file out there. And whether you go over to Microsoft Project and take a look at this file, or you can actually render this, okay, within the Teams area. Now I'm going to take a look at my schedule here. Now I'll have the full control of Microsoft Project just like I would in Microsoft Project. I do need a license, okay? If I try to go to this tab and don't have a license, it's going to say, hey, you don't have access to this, okay? Reach out to your admins, they give you a license. Now we do. So just like before, if I come in here, I have, it's checked out to me. I have a bunch of things I can do. This is all, PM activities, right? And if I go down and take a look, I have some tasks, I have all this good stuff, and I can actually engage with this. Now, there is one area, right? Out of the box with project, there is a link with Planner, but all that's going to do, it literally just provides an HTML link to a plan. And that's okay, and that might be good for your organization, but what we're asking to do is consolidate all these tasks into one area. So within project, you can actually come in here and you can connect this directly. So I get all my information, my percent complete, my duration, all this stuff. I'm going to show you here that within a tool, you can actually sync this directly up into your other tool sets, meaning Planner, which is going to come into Teams so we can see this. So I can see that we have a bunch of tasks here and I have some other things over here. All these other things are being pulled back and forth into the Planner environment. So let's take a look. Receive, submit. I'm just going to get a couple of these in my head, right? And if I was to go to The planner tool itself, I'm going to bounce out a second. I want to show you planner, and I will show you it within Teams in just a second. But I have a bunch of things over here in planner. So I can actually manage. You see those same words here, submit, okay? All these different tools, excuse me, tasks that I had here is in a nice look and feel. For a project manager, they're saying, hey, great, I can get this information out to somebody. And what they can do is they can manage at this level. And I will let you know that this is Planner, and I mean that strictly. We're not changing anything. Microsoft has created a really good tool here for task management at a task management level. So I can come in here and say, hey, this is in progress, completed, etc. This will go back and you can see that it is syncing here. It will send it back to project. One of the things that we do ask, or we have been asked, is what actually goes back and forth. It's actually everything above the checklist in this case. The decision was made to, if people start adding things over here in Planner, right, attachments and all this good stuff, it's going to stay in that area. Also, when you were talking about passing information back and forth, we want to try to keep everything in the tool that people feel comfortable. Okay, I'll probably say that 2 or 3 times today. But if I feel comfortable in this planner area, great. Let me have at it. I can either go into my projects, right? Here's my coho, or you know what? I'm on a lot of projects, and Samantha has a project for me, and Jeff has one, Heather has one. I have all these, right? If I want to see it across everything, this is just Planner, right? Assigned to me across. And I can go in here and say, yep, what started, etc. But I can also see it by plan. Let's take this same theme and see how we can see all of this within um, that projectology of Teams. So I'm going to go back to Teams here. And again, I'm in that same project, but I could just as well see this view that we just saw over in Planner. The same exact tasks that are here in that schedule is one-to-one. So you now have the opportunity to say, hey, do I want to show a planner view in Teams? Do I want to show a schedule view? Maybe I want to show both and people can access it depending on permissions. It's a lot of flexibility for your organization. Okay. All of these projects are going to roll up. Okay. And they roll up so you can get reporting and you can do the analysis and all that good stuff, which I'll show you in just a second. Now, within our entire thing, you could also just take and add in different things, issues, risks, inventory, invoicing, whatever it happens to be. You folks are the masters of your own domain. Very easily, you could connect not only applications, but things that you're working on. Now, behind the scenes, you could extend this with what we talked about, Power Automate. I could say, hey, every time a task is created in this particular tool, I want to send a notification to my team, or I would like to send something. Well, you have a choice of sending those, via email, different things like that. But you also can come in here and take a look at your different activity. Look like I have anything right here yet, but this is where it will pop up and say, hey, you need to do XYZ, okay? And that's where it's going to come into my area for anything that I'm getting called out on, anything that's for my attention in this case will be in that one area. Now, we're talking about bringing project information, bringing planner information. The other area that we're talking about was also Outlook, okay? Now, the application I said you could do by yourself today is you can come in here. This is free. Microsoft created this, right? Is Task by Planner, and you just want to add that. So when I go ahead and add this in, what it's going to do is it brings up this application. And now it is combining everything. It recognized single sign-on, who I am. I happen to be mod admin in Contoso over here. And take a look at what we have. So now we're getting that same task fabric that we showed you over in Planner. And well, if you sync it to project, guess what we have now? We have all of our project tasks, all of our planner tasks, and hey, I got to pick up the kids and do a wellness break, right? Anything that I have in my Outlook to-dos are also going to come into here. So this is one area, if you so choose, to see that Jeff mentioned a single pane of glass, okay, within the organization. You could add this today, and maybe you're just going to do your planner and your to-dos, and you don't want to extend further. For those roles that I saw out there as project, portfolio, and program managers, the light bulb should potentially be going off to say, this is a pretty neat way of seeing everything in one area. Now, again, what we see a lot, oh man, there's a lot of things going on. Again, people start to use their different filters. What is happening for me today, tomorrow, etc. You can group and filter. And then if I actually go into one of these, let's see, it was Bay Plaza, right? We were using. So I'm going to scroll down. I could just start keying in here too. But Bay Plaza, right here, receive a link. You grab one that's there. It's temporary power here, right? So this is that same task fabric that I just talked about. So this is all coming in, whether I change it over here, I change it in Planner, I change it because this is tied into project, change it into project, it's all talking together. So that's the beauty about having a combined system in this case, allowing people to work how they want to work. Now, reports, and Jeff talked about AI and some other things. That's beautiful, and it can work. Okay, let me pull out quickly. I'm going to go over into project. Okay, and I want to go over into that same area. Now, what we're seeing here is a roll up of all those projects. Bay Plaza will be in here if I scroll down. Okay, one of these as well, and we're rolling up data. Okay, this is Microsoft project. Okay, you're just taking the details of all your project plans and putting them into one area so we can see that across the entire organization. From here, you now have the data in that area. Now you can start to do some key reporting. Once you get the reports, then we layer in the AI. I can go across all those and really take a look at things. Some of those reports are given to you. Microsoft says, hey, here you go. There's a content pack. Here is that content pack. Now we've changed it just a bit here, but you get this for free, okay, out of the box. You can go out there, set this up. Again, this data is on Project Online. There's also one on Microsoft Project too, which is the light thin tool that's out there called Project for Web. Difference between the two there is your project online is going to be more for your heavy resource managing, doing some portfolio looking, things like that. The project for web, really great tool. And that's what's going to be for your lighter weight or your quick, doing some sprints. I'll show you how that looks in just a moment as well. Regardless of what tool you're using to manage your projects, you can pull all the data into one area. Okay. And they've done a great job. They reached out to partners like us. They grabbed some reports that most of us had, and they started condensing these. So right from here, this is a content pack on Power BI. You could subscribe to it, export it right into a PowerPoint slide if you'd like. You could group and filter, bring it down to whatever sort of data you want. So again, less time on creating the report, more time on making a decision around what you're actually seeing. Happens to be a portfolio dashboard. There's a timeline, there are different costs. Milestones is a good one. Depending on my data, I do have some data in here. For you, it might be a lot more, but this is one area to see those milestones that are coming up in the in the next 30 days, what occurred most recently, and then just seeing some heuristics on, how they're doing. I mentioned issues and risks as well. A lot of us do true project management, and we have those, and we want to record those whatever solution you're using. If you're using Microsoft Project, boom, they're going to come in automatically here for you, right? If you're using a list or something that else is out there, you actually can pull that right into Project additionally and see those. So across what is my risk? What are the types of projects? All these links, here's that Bay Plaza, right? I can drill directly into it, complete it, update it, or maybe say, hey, Jeff, I need help with that, right? Where's that going to go? Guess what? It goes back up to Teams. So you can see, hey, Jeff needs help with that particular, or Jacques needs help with that particular risk from Jeff. Issues, same. Resource availability is a big thing. A lot of people talk about that. I know we're talking about tasks, okay, and how about we manage and make things. But on the back end, we're all thinking about, are people over allocated? Okay, so just really quickly, yes, that's all in there. It's within the tool set. You can dive deep, really deep if you want to do it, or you could just at the top level. Jeff mentioned as well different themes and different abilities, okay, to get to your level of comfort when it talks about managing both on the strategic level, but also the tactical level of execution. So really, this would be up to you to how detailed do you want to get in here. And just a few others. I do want to show you one more. Now, from a project management perspective, you may like this view today, which is just a simple status report. You might say, I have my own. Okay, regardless. Okay, what you can do is now you can have a standard status report across all your projects that are out there, or you might have different templates that are there for different projects. It's really, again, up to you folks. What we're talking about today is a configured system that I'm showing here, but they're woven together through the Microsoft solution and the Microsoft platform. So we're actually taking the data from Power BI, but it's sitting in Microsoft Project. We were mashing, okay, data into that project world called Teams through 4 or 5 different tools out there, right? We looked at Planner, we looked at information from project for the web is coming over, SharePoint from list information. You could actually import and bring things in from Excel if you wanted to do that. You have a lot of different options. Now, a couple more things I'd like to show you, and keep those questions coming. I'm going to pause and take a look at those in just a second. Is a lot of people want to ask, okay, about the teamology, right, within project is how do you actually create these things? Okay, well, you can buy a tool out there, and we have a few, or other partners do too. But you could also just come in here and manually create these. And what I'm saying is we can manually create one, okay, and then we can use a template. So I can literally right here say from group or team, okay? And if we've already created this team right here, is I can come in here and say, oh, this VoIP project, we have something that's very similar to that. I want all the tabs. I want all my information, everything that's coming from there. And in this case, we do have some samples out here. There's a sample low complexity project, or maybe a high complexity. Let me take this one. So I could take this, I rename it to whatever I want, right? I'm going to do PPM check response. If I could spell, boom. All right. And then you have the opportunity to say, hey, what do I want? Do I want those apps? Okay, so if you have any apps that are already in this solution, do I want my tabs? So we had plan, remember, we had the schedule up there. I had reports on one of those, okay? Team settings, all that good stuff. So you could manually go in here, use a template in here to create, again, another project team, and you're off and running. And again, you could say, hey, I want the people in there, or no, I don't, and as well as private or public to go off and create those. So boom, I can create. You're going to see some little animated folks with a thumb up, just like you've seen if you've ever created. Now, this art of creating a team, a project team from another team should be pretty straightforward. And you can go through here now and add our additional resources. Now, note, you can actually go in here and both add our resources and look them up, but you can also just do your personal address, right? And you can go out to externals. I want to show you one other thing with this, because there's a little tip here that we've done is I don't want to be known as this. I want to be known as Jacques, or somebody else wants to be known as that. So this is your only opportunity when you're creating a team, is to come in here and change this at this point, okay? And then I could go up and look up Adele and anybody else who's in the organization and add all those people to here, and off we run. It's going to go ahead and create those. It's going to create that team for me. It's going to notify these people, hey, Adele and Jacques, you've been added to a different team. In this case, Adele's going to be the owner, right? And now we are managing our new project with all our different tabs up here, okay? Within our tool set, which we're doing, which is Microsoft Teams for portfolio project and, more importantly, strategic project management. Hey, Heather, I'm going to pause here, see if we have any questions. I do have a couple more things that we're going to get on to. Let's take a look. While I do that, I also want to bring up a couple QR codes, all right? And I'll answer some of these questions that are coming through in the planner board. So with
So
the
Jacques,
QR,
while you're doing that, one of the common questions is the access to the data. So the data that is in Project Online is being made available through OData. You can certainly connect that back to Tableau or Click or put it into Excel or do however you want for reporting. Project data that's in Project for Web, that is actually in our Dataverse environment, similarly available outside the application if you need to syndicate it to other sources for reports. So that's a common question asked a few times. Just wanted to address that. The data that sits within Teams, it really depends on what kind of content it is. If it's chat type data messaging, you can certainly publish that to other web sources. If it's file content similar to what you would have in Office, Word, Excel, then it would follow the privacy and trust rules to the Office content that you have set up from an enterprise content management perspective. So hopefully that answers it a little more thoroughly than the chat.
perfect. So there are definitely some resources here that people ask all the time. You want to check these out, aka Microsoft, and then put the extension. You can actually do Microsoft Project, get a lot of information there. If you do want a trial, you can go through here, try Project Now, or you can reach out directly to us. I'll put our information up here. Difference is the partner-led trial is going to be a little bit more data in there. It's going to be a little bit more what you saw. Okay, and the other is going to be a little bit lighter. Okay, now a lot of people ask how do you get in touch with us. I saw that come up. Again, I'll flash those up here. So we got both. You can reach out to Jeff or myself, Jacques, if you want. Anything to do with the slides, anything to do with the
I think that was the last time I wore a suit and a tie.
yeah, look good. Yeah, if you want any information, you can also reach out directly to us. I'm gonna go back to that scan. Let me see if there's yep, two things. I'll go back to that scan, but also people were asking about different workshops that are out there and this info@ppmworks.com. If you had any questions on what you saw today, you need any screenshots, you have any questions whatsoever about how it's working and we didn't answer it today because we're running out of time here, I will stay on to answer all your questions. But if you have any questions here, info@ppmworks.com. Send that over and we'll get that to you. One thing that we do, since we are a gold partner of Microsoft, with Jeff and all his other team members there, is we are eligible to provide you folks with different workshops. So if you saw something today, you said, hey, that's pretty cool. I wonder if we qualify for that, right? Um, who knows? Reach out to us, let us know. If you are a qualified client, then we actually can do some of this with Microsoft funding. So that's another gold perk that we have here as we come together and we say, hey, let's go ahead and do a workshop for you, and we'll tap Microsoft and say, hey, we'd really like some funding here. So that is a really good avenue for anybody to explore that's on here that saw something or just has some questions. Sort of reach out to us. Well, I do want to thank you. I'm going to go back to those QR codes so you can see those. I'll answer. There was a question about tasks going throughout. I'm going to answer that, and I'll also look at the questions. But I would like to thank you. I'd like to thank Heather for all her work that she did, the Microsoft team with Harmony and Danny and folks like that. Thanks for helping us out. We're happy to be here. We like doing this. This is fun. Jeff and I always enjoy getting on, not only to chat with each other, but also to get the feedback from you folks, the questions, and keep us, engaged and keep us pushing the envelope in and around the tool set. Yeah, and again, thank you and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for all for joining. We're going to sign off from the group here. So thanks for joining us, Jeff. Thanks for your time today. It's always insightful, and love your perspective on the whole modern architecture.
Great. Have a great day, everybody.
We will. Thanks. I'll stay on for a bit if anybody has some further questions. Have yourself a wonderful day and give someone a hug for us. Bye now.